Hi everyone. We're just waiting for Jeph to join. Okay, coming right up, hopefully. Hi everyone. Ah, hi.
Hello, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
No
How are you?
problem. This is also my first Instagram live, so
Yeah,
I think we're
yeah.
in the same boat.
It's all good. I'm glad that it worked out. How are you? Good?
Yeah, good. Good. All good
Awesome.
here. Yeah, in
Awesome.
lockdown, but holding up.
Stay strong.
Yeah. Okay, everyone.
Awesome.
So this is episode 4 of our Enterprising Youth Share series. We have Jeph Acheampong with us, who you may remember from our Game Changers discussion during Youth Day.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay, so just for the audience, if you have any question, you can either use the question tab on the bottom of your screen, or you can use the comment section. And we'll pick those up later in the session. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, and so before we get started, I would like to introduce Jeph. So Jeph is the founder of Blossom Academy, where he drives the business strategy of the company and where he's at the forefront of innovation and talent development. Blossom Academy recruits and develops African data science talent with the goal of connecting them with job opportunities. Prior to founding Blossom, Jeph was the founder of Esusu Financial, a digital platform that provides data solutions for low-middle income consumers. As a Princeton Fellow in Africa, he developed technology businesses across Kenya to gather live customer insights from mobile survey conversations. He also worked on Wall Street, where he helped multinationals and high-growth startups use their data to achieve a competitive advantage. Jeph holds an economics degree from New York University. He's also an Expo Live Global Innovator, a World Economic Forum Global Shaper, and was named a Future of Ghana Pioneer. Welcome again.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here.
We're really happy to
everyone.
have you. Yeah. Hello, everyone that's joining. I hope you find this session informative. So yeah, as I said, like we already had Jeph on board as one of our Game Changer panelists during Youth Day. And yeah, we really wanted like a one-on-one conversation to really delve into your experience as an entrepreneur. What are the advice you can give to fellow young entrepreneurs? How did it all get started? And yeah, where are you now? So unless you have any other remarks, we can jump straight into the questions.
Yeah, I mean, well, just want to say I'm very happy to be here. Hi again, everyone, and thanks so much for the compliment, Rhoda. Really excited to share, my experiences on my entrepreneurial journey. I believe that there's been quite a number of roadblocks. However, I think those roadblocks has what has brought us this far in our journey. So I'm happy to share, and thanks so much for having me again. So we can jump right into the question.
Okay, perfect. So we'll start at the beginning. And I would really like to know what sparked your idea to create Blossom Academy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Blossom Academy, just to even answer that question, what we do is that we recruit and develop African data scientists with the goal of connecting them to job opportunities. So we recruit university graduates and then we train them over a 3-month program. And then we connect them to jobs locally or jobs across Africa. We've had cases where our graduates have gotten jobs in companies abroad as well. But Blossom Academy was inspired by a childhood friend who I connected with back in 2015, realizing that he's finished the university but he could not secure employment. So, it just didn't make sense because he was by far the smartest student in our grade while I was growing up in Ghana. So it didn't make sense why Peter, of all people, could not secure a job. So that's where the premise started. I started doing a lot of research and came to understand that there was a significant gap between industry and academia, where the universities are not putting a lot of emphasis on practical skills. So we thought, why not set up a boot camp to train these university graduates and connect them to jobs? It didn't start off with data science. We tried a lot of things, digital marketing, finance skills, etc. But none of them were really appealing to employers in our network. But when we switched to data science, we saw an increase in placements. We saw that our students also pursuing higher education abroad. And that was exciting to see that we can provide economic equality for young Ghanaians and other Africans as well.
Great. That's really interesting how it started with this childhood connection too. Since you founded Blossom Academy in your home country, Ghana, we were curious to know, how would you describe the nature of doing business on the African continent?
Hard. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's tough, right? But one of my mentors once said that he's never met anyone who has moved to work on the African continent and didn't come out successful. So far, you stick with it, because the rewards are very, very extravagant. They're amazing. But I say hard because there's a few things that tend to be missing, right, in the business climate here. For example, the support system that you might get from launching a business in the States, you might not get that there. When it comes to company registration, when it comes to seeking legal services, these things exist, but it's hard to find the appropriate person who understands the kind of business you're trying to launch. Now, we also have a lot of infrastructure challenges. Blossom Academy, we're trying to provide our courses fully remote, but I realize that a lot of students actually are facing data challenges. So this means we need to keep being blended, right? And I think, the reality is that because we are thinking long term, we see this as an investment. And we think that as long as we continuously to develop capacity in data science and facilitate the right partnerships to really help ameliorate these problems that we are facing in our regions, will make the process easier. Right, Blossom Academy, the idea came to mind in 2015, 5 years ago. We officially launched 2 years ago. So in my view, we are still very young and these challenges are bound to happen. And we think that through partnerships, through patience, through thinking long term, we will definitely be able to overcome those challenges.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, great. I mean, you've already touched on this a bit in your answer just now, but what were the roadblocks that you faced throughout the years of running Blossom Academy? And do you have certain strategies on how you have overcome those roadblocks?
Yeah, I mean, with the roadblocks, I think when we first started, the main roadblock was finding female talent, right? The plethora of people who applied to Blossom happened to be men. A quick story, there's a girl who applied. She went through the entire recruitment process only to drop out. Why did she drop out? Because she said her mom believes she should stay home and focus on how she can actually get married and raise kids. And this was very troubling because part of the reason why we launched Blossom, right, is to level the playing field and provide economic equality for all. So over the years, what we have done is partner with organizations in the local ecosystem who are focused on, women development, and saying how can we actually recruit talent from them, or also talking to professors and asking them, hey, can you recommend the best female graduates for us to upskill them and connect them to opportunity, right? So that was one primary challenge. Over the years, we're figuring it out. I briefly mentioned data. It continues to be a challenge in our region because internet penetration is low. But if you read the World Bank report, internet penetration keeps increasing year on year. So we see that as something that would improve eventually. Now, I think, a challenge that is for almost every startup is access to capital, right? So, trying to raise capital for an unproven idea in the very early stages is very hard. Now, I saw improving because Blossom Academy happens to be the first data science boot camp in the West Africa region, right? No one had really tried to launch something similar in the past. So trying to pitch to a VC or someone to give you a grant for that idea is very, very tough. But I think over the years, as we kept highlighting our success stories, placing people into jobs, we started getting believers who actually started backing us, making introductions, and that's what has brought us this far so far.
Yeah, this problem of attracting investors is really something that we see all across the board with all of our young entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Which is also why we've actually dedicated a full series sort of to networking with investors here at Yay, and yeah, it's really something that comes up a lot, and that
Yeah,
we're trying
very
to
important.
bridge. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So during our Game Changers panel for Youth Day this year, you shared that you think it's really important to think outside the box.
Yep.
So what does this continuous innovation look like to you?
Yeah, so when I say think outside the box, I'm thinking about, since we started Blossom, right, we are seeing that there's a lot of data science academies starting to sprout up, right? However, like, how do you actually collaborate with these kind of different academies sprouting up and achieving a bigger goal, right? I think most, early stage companies or most SMEs wouldn't really think about collaborating with, quote unquote, a competitor, right? That's just one way of thinking out of the box. Now, number two is when launching a business, I think it's so important to understand that you usually cannot do it alone. You cannot fulfill the goals, the vision, the mission alone. So what we're doing is collaborating and partnering with very strategic organizations that the average academy would then partner with, right? So for example, we in talked to a lot of universities in the US, currently in the States, and those are the reasons why I came to the States. In terms of facilitating some sort of partnership that will really help increase the number of African youth who are pursuing higher education abroad. And this starts with also saying, hey, how do we partner with Blossom and make sure that those who we are getting from the African continent are better talent, right? That's another way of thinking out of the box. Now, I would say what really makes Blossom unique is when we first started, as opposed to design a curriculum and just training people, what we did was talk to employers first, understand what kind of data challenges are you facing. So this very day, we are still talking to companies, understanding their data challenges, and saying, okay, let's actually update the curriculum to fit the new demands of the market. So because of that, now we are churning out high quality talent who are more relevant for the ecosystem, as opposed to training people with curriculum that may not align with the evolving job market. So these kind of things, is what I would kind of describe as think out of the box, being more personalized and really focus on the customer at the core.
Yeah, I really like how you sort of almost shake up the concept of what it is to be an entrepreneur, because I feel like it's just you always have this stereotype of it being some self-made, and it's very almost solitary in that sense, like you make it on your own. But I like that you really put the partnerships at the center, and that you're really saying that you need outside help and collaboration in order to succeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Okay, so what do you think is the best strategy to reach and serve remote or underserved communities? I don't know if you recruit talent from all over, or if you're quite focused on Accra.
It's actually one challenge I should have mentioned early on when you asked me about the challenges we face. To just kind of paint a picture for you, when before COVID became even bigger than it is now, we had several students who commute. Our campus is in Accra, which is the capital in Ghana. We had several students who commute from the Volta region to Accra every weekend for our courses. And one way is 5 hours and going back is another 5 hours, which means that every weekend they're spending 10 hours on the road, right? And we kept brainstorming and thinking about how can we actually, provide these courses to them without they having to come all the way to us. And the reality is that you need to leverage technology. But the problem is that not everyone there has great internet, right? Back to the internet challenge again. So now we're thinking through, how do we set up, smaller hubs? But even before setting up these smaller hubs, how do you partner with existing hubs within these regions and saying that this is our curriculum? Can you actually execute it at the same level at which we execute it? Think of it as like the franchise model per se. But that's the best way we can scale, because when it comes to, these remote and, far off communities, right, it becomes very hard to essentially skill them for the evolving job market. So by partnering with local skills hub, by partnering with universities, and by training these professors, they're able to further skill, members of the Blossom community who may be coming from the Volta region or the Ashanti region, which are all distant regions from Accra.
Great. And it's really nice to have this hybrid model, as you say, because it allows you to expand in different directions and to really serve everyone. Really good. So you touched upon this already. You studied and worked in the US for a while, and you're still going back and forth quite a bit from what I understand. How do you feel that your experience that you've had in the US has shaped your business in Ghana and vice versa?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So, one thing that I often share with, some of our students and, with some of our employer partners, because they always wonder, like, how can we build something similar? And one thing I share with them is that, my advantage is the exposure I've gotten from living abroad, right? I'm able to see things and think about it a bit differently from someone who may be focused, who may be living in Ghana their whole lives, right? So that's a huge advantage that I don't take lightly. It's a huge privilege that I don't take lightly. Now, I think that, I spent some time on Wall Street. I went to school here. And that, at least in New York City, that hustle, right, that New York City kind of, incorporates into your lifestyle has translated into, my work ethic back in Ghana, right? So I may be working on a different speed, a different kind of level, a different kind of approach than someone who may be based in Ghana their whole lives and may not understand why I may be going, quote unquote, extra harder than they may be going, right? So that's one thing. But I also say that the lessons I've learned in Ghana also directly translate to my experiences when I'm in the States. Because in the States, I'm trying to foster partnerships. I'm trying to talk to schools, trying to recruit people. And, with Ghana, I think you need to think very long term. You need to realize that you're not going to close the deal overnight. You need to build relationships. Relationships are key in that ecosystem. So now I'm like not thinking about how do I just send an email and a follow-up and wait, but more so how do I actually spend time getting to know this person? How do we meet up, over lunch? How do we have, drinks and talk and actually connect? I think that's something that Ghana has taught me because, in the past when I was working in the States, it's very much send an email and that's it, right? Yeah. So that kind of interchange of, lessons, I think has really helped propel me further in my work that I'm doing at Blossom Academy.
Great. So it's really about cultivating the relationships and really zooming in on that. I like that. Okay. So next question would be, if you could talk to your younger self about the entrepreneurial journey, what would you tell yourself and why?
If I were to talk to my younger self, I'll tell my younger self not to be too quick to give up. Because, Blossom Academy, you see it today and you tend to believe that, we are doing so well, we've grown so much, but the reality is that we've pivoted, so many times. And those pivots have been have translated it into success stories. But the reality is that if we stuck with initial models, we'd have even gone further, right? I think the same, lesson can be applied to other things that I've done in my life. Blossom is not the first company I launched. Isusu is not the first company that, I was a co-founder of. But I look at these ideas, I think, wow, if I stayed on this idea a bit longer, we would have made so much progress. And I think that the whole mentality of letting go comes from this hunger and this drive that you want to make it, and you forget that it's important to be patient. So you're looking at the next best thing that you can actually explore. And I think that that can actually be more detrimental than actually beneficial to most entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think it's even something that's very inherent to young entrepreneurs, because they may not have the capital to start out with. May not be able to afford the time that it would take for the initial idea to take off.
Yep.
And so it's definitely something that also increasingly is difficult for youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I tend to, living a lot of our students who go through our academy, a number of them are interested in entrepreneurship, and, they leave and they come up with these amazing ideas. And the reality is that you find out maybe 6 months down the line that, they just give up, right? And I mean, when I see this, I'm not quick to judge, because they're also coming from environments where, they need to figure out how to survive, because jobs may not be as in abundance, right? So, I mean, again, I think I'm very privileged to have lived in the States, to have come back, to have secured funding, but not everyone has that privilege. So I think that advice depends on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey as well. Just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, I am gonna pick some questions out of the chat now. So one has been, quick note actually, for anyone else that's watching, if you have a question, please post it in the chat, or there's a little question symbol, as you prefer. But we'll take this one. You mentioned you work with a number of partners. How do you build trust and ensure that those relationships are fruitful and meaningful?
The question is, again, so I work with a lot of partners.
How do you build trust and ensure that those relationships are fruitful and meaningful? I mean, you've touched on it a bit in really, cultivating the relationships, but how do you build that trust?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty about at least the partnerships that we've had is that whenever we talk to these partners, when we are looking to build our partnership, the question that they ask us is, how does this benefit Blossom Academy, right? And I love that, because now it's not just about how does it benefit them, but how does it benefit us? And when we're able to decide on those objectives, best believe that it will be a fruitful partnership, because we both know what we are walking away with. Give you an example. We have a partnership with Microsoft, where when every student is done with their training program, they take a certification exam, and then they become Microsoft certified. Now, the beauty about this is that, we can tell our target market that you're able to get the certification, right, at no cost, right? Because essentially, is this partnership is providing us with that certification. But now Microsoft can also boast of saying that we have thousands of students, across Ghana, across Africa, who are Microsoft certified. And if you're an employer and you hire someone from Blossom Academy, or you hire someone with a certification, they can bring Microsoft products and tools to work, right? So that right there is a very beneficial partnership. And I think that's something you need to think about, right off the bat. I think number two is also one thing that's very missing. It tends to be missing when it comes to this whole partnership process is continuous conversations or communication, right? We are consistently updating our partners about, what we're doing, what is the latest, job placement. For example, a girl from the academy, Priscilla, secured a job at the World Food Program just Monday. We shared it with some of our partners, and they were very excited. So you're thinking, how can we help you more to get more people into the World Food Program, right? So by sharing this with them, by communicating often, goes a very long way. And I think something that a lot of entrepreneurs do not do, and usually they do not get to that point because they tend to be so busy, right, with executing. But once you can actually embed that into your flow, I think a lot of magic can happen.
Yeah, I actually saw that update on Monday also on your social
Yeah,
media.
yeah,
It's really nice to somehow get like the anecdotes behind the business and behind the success. And
absolutely,
I can really imagine that this is something that really helps you in building your partnerships. Um,
100%.
so in following up on that, how have you perceived the importance of social media in keeping those relationships, in building the business, in getting the word out there?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so social media is such a powerful tool, right? That just goes to say, and I think we could be more effective in leveraging social media, and something that we're looking to incorporate more into our 2021 strategy. Now, the way we leverage our platforms that we use, the platforms we use are Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Um, we found out that LinkedIn actually tends to be the platform that generates the most leads for us instead of those who are applying for our program. So on LinkedIn, we're sharing mostly success stories. We're sharing articles that are covering Blossom. We're sharing updates at the academy, right? And that has been very helpful. But with social media, with our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's education marketing, right? So we are sharing relevant articles, relevant information that any aspiring data scientist can benefit from, right? And that's something that we are seeing go a very long way, and we are seeing being very beneficial for us overall. Now, in the Ghanaian ecosystem, social media works, but traditional advertisement, we believe works a lot more, like radio, television. A good example is, this morning, woke up and I got a bunch of messages from, one of the staff members at Blossom, saying, "Hey, we're getting so many calls. What's happening?" Turns out that I did an interview with CNN about 2 months ago, and it aired I think this morning. So apparently, people watched it and they started reaching out and realized that we actually shouldn't just focus on social media alone, but we can actually leverage other platforms like television, like radio, like guerrilla marketing, word of mouth, etc. So just want to make that point as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and you didn't know when exactly it was going to go up, so it was also
I didn't know. It's a complete surprise. I still haven't seen the interview. That's the funny part. But we're getting so many messages since morning.
yeah.
It's been quite crazy today, actually, but good crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
And it's somehow, you do the interview and then it's 2 months down the line and you forget and all of a sudden you get a lot of traction, which is really
exactly.
great and
Absolutely.
unexpected.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was another question, which was, how do you decide which partners to work with and which not to?
So I think in the very early stages, it's almost like, sorry, did you say something?
No.
Okay. In the very early stages, it's almost like you kind of don't have an option on who to choose as a partner or not. But I think that you need to stand firm, and say this partner is going to benefit me in this way, or I'm going to benefit that person in that way. So we choose our partnerships based on how they're going to help our students progress in their respective, journeys, right? I didn't think about how it's going to help Blossom Academy, but how does it help the student? At the end of the day, the student comes first. So, for example, with university partnerships that we have in the US, we're thinking about how can we help students get abroad to pursue a higher education in data science. With employer partners, you think about if the student gets into this company, can they make an impact, right? Now, the beauty about data science is that it's still new, and a lot of companies that hire from us are actually creating new roles to hire talent, right? So this roles didn't exist before. So now, let's say if a company is saying they want to hire a data scientist, and the new role they are creating is data entry, does it make sense to partner with them at this stage? It's better to actually work with them and figure out how can we actually get you to become more data driven, and then we will deploy talent to you, because that wouldn't be a best use of our talent time, right? Now, when it comes to more organizational partnerships like Microsoft, Datacom, Data Lab, etc. At the end of the day, it's very much how does this contribute to helping our students keep skilling themselves, right? Because that skilling component is so important. And when we focus on training students over a 3-month period, we need to also realize that, after those 3 months, they need to actually keep building on that skill set. Because if they don't build on that skill set and they've not secured a job yet, they can tend to forget. So that's some of the things that we do in terms of looking for partners. And it served as well and continues to serve as well, because, we're seeing that it's a mutually beneficial kind of play, as well.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear that the partners in the end are also open to carve out positions,
Yep.
if it's suitable.
Yep.
It's a good position to be in for sure.
Yeah.
So what is the plan for 2021? Where do you want to go with Blossom Academy? What's next?
We want to go everywhere. That's a short answer. That's a short answer. The thing with Blossom is that although we're based in Ghana, I was sharing this on a call earlier today. We get more applications from, other African countries. So Nigeria, South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya. And by leveraging technology, we've been able to serve some students from that market. So now we're thinking about how can we, start partnering with organizations within these regions and collaborate and actually train more people across Africa, right? I mentioned funding briefly. Trying to go to, a venture capitalist or going to, a donor or something like that to say, hey, we want X amount of money to scale, might take some time, right? Because they may not understand, why we are, trying to scale so quickly, for example, but we're seeing that demand. So 2021, we are envisioning more partnerships with, different, ecosystem builders in the countries that I've mentioned, so we can actually offer courses there. We also have Francophone Africa on top of the list. Senegal specifically is a country that we are looking to provide more training in. So we provide some of our training programs in French. Lastly, one university, I cannot share the name yet because the partnership is still pending and we're keeping it, behind closed doors. But they're looking to work with us in offering a postgraduate diploma in data science. So we believe that we might be able to attract talent from across Africa to come to Ghana to come learn data science and get a diploma from an accredited university. So really excited about that, and we think 2021 will be a really great year for Blossom.
That's so great.
Yep.
And in terms of expanding to other countries, I think you mentioned you would want to sort of bring it upon the ecosystem players in those countries. So the way it would work is it's similar to when you talked about how do you serve people who are, 5 hours outside of the city. You basically bring in local actors to be almost like a multiplier for Blossom Academy rather than...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of the idea, because there's local actors in these regions who may be focused on software engineering, but they're not doing anything data science related. Yeah. So by sharing our curriculum with them, by figuring out how we can reach their students, and by recruiting the instructors ourselves, there can be some great synergies where they benefit from actually, expanding their course offerings, and we also benefit by actually serving students who are interested in our training program. At the end of the day, data science is something that cannot be taught theoretically. You need to do a lot of practicals, and I think that our real world projects is something that really help differentiate us from a lot of other companies. And we get our real world projects from local SMEs. So by partnering with local SMEs and saying that give us these projects for students to work on, this is something that we have as an advantage over any other company, at least to our knowledge, in our region. And we think that by employing that model and partnering with ecosystem builders, it will work very well. But we're yet to test it out. So we'll see once we actually test it out.
Yeah, I also really like that you want to expand into Francophone Africa. Because it's also something we're really seeing in the community. So for now, we only have the platform in English, but we're also looking to eventually have a lot of material available in French, because we're seeing it continuously at events, that Francophone Africa is really disappointed when, you know,
Yeah.
everything's in English. And
Most people don't think about Francophone Africa. It's so sad, but there's so much talent there. I was in Senegal recently, and I was mind blown by the talented number of young people I met. And it's just sad that there's not too many ecosystem builders in that country, and also other countries in Francophone Africa. So we are really excited about that potential as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question here, which is, you work with a lot of big players in the international development community. What is one thing you wish organizations like the UN or MasterCard Foundation, to name a few, would do more of in terms of support for youth entrepreneurs and market-ready skills?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. That's actually a really good question. So and the reason why I say this is because when it comes to a lot of these um, great international organizations, when it comes to the kind of partnerships they foster, they usually like to see so many years of track record first before they say, I'm going to partner with you. I'm forever thankful to the Decent Jobs for Youth, campaign, because we had barely started when, we did the partnership, and that's helped us so much get into so many doors. And I think that, these development organizations needs to kind of start setting up these sort of systems where they can build relationships with early stage entrepreneurs, where when they get to a certain level in the entrepreneurial journey, it's easier to partner. Because majority of the time, a lot of people don't get to that level in the entrepreneurial journey where they would actually go for it and partner with the UN, for example. Right. And it's very disturbing to see, because we are seeing that, there's a couple of people who've partnered with different foundations in Ghana, and not to mention their names, and you realize that, wow, they've existed for 5 years, 10 years. Like, what happens to those people who started a year ago, who you can tell that they believe in this mission, this vision, who they're clearly showing results? How can they actually partake in, this, collaborations happening? I think that's number one. I think number two is, these kind of, conversations that we having is very important, because, the more, we talk about, challenges that entrepreneurs are facing across Africa, the more people, or even globally, the more people who are interested in going to entrepreneurship can say that, I'm going to learn and not, make that same mistake. And by learning, not making that same mistake, they can progress faster on their journey, and this will really help them develop that partnership quicker, right? I don't believe in, because I feel, someone else should feel as well. I feel so you can actually learn the ropes and do better than I did, right? And I think that's something that, is missing, and I think more international development organizations can incorporate into their models to make sure that we're getting high quality entrepreneurs coming out, and partnering with them in order to fulfill the overall goal.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when you first joined Decent Jobs for Youth, it was really,
Yep.
I think 2 years ago now, 2.5.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's nice to hear it from your perspective also, that really you felt like it was a nice, I don't know, nice like display of trust at the early stages of your business.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I mean, the thing is that Decent Jobs for Youth have partnered with, really top organizations, right? The McDonald's and etc., right? So when you are a smaller fish, you're a smaller guy, right, in the pond, and you get a partnership like that, it really kind of propels you to keep going, because you said they trusted me. It gives you that taste of success, and you're like, I should keep going because these people trusted me. I'm sending them, these quarterly updates, and you make sure that I keep going. So there's no room for failure, and I think that trust factor needs to be incorporated between international organizations and more early stage startups as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really nice gateway somehow, that gateway position almost that UN organizations can take in this.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I would say now we have the last question,
Yep.
which would be, how do you approach continuous learning in your work and in life?
How do I approach continuous learning? I think continuous learning for me comes through conversations with those who are more experienced than I am, whether in the entrepreneurial journey, whether in the 9 to 5, because you learn a lot from people from different paths. So that's number one. I think number two, I haven't been on top of it as much as I used to, but I read a lot, whether it's articles, whether it's books. And what I tend to do is I tend to reread a lot of books as opposed to trying to find a whole new book, because I always find something new. For example, a book I read almost every year is The Alchemist. I just picked it up recently and I reread it again. And I'm like mind blown. I'm like, how come I didn't catch all these things the first time, right? And that continuous learning, I would describe as a reminder, right, on why I am on my journey or why I'm pursuing this personal legend. So that's something that I don't take for granted. Reading new books, rereading books, having conversations with different mentors, with people that I meet, is always helping me develop myself. Also, lastly, one thing that I think a lot of people tend to often take for granted is just writing down, your thoughts at a given time and revisiting them, right? Because there's always so many things happening in my head, so I'm always writing them down. And then the reality is that when I revisit it, I'm like, okay, this makes sense to pursue. What kind of book or what kind of online course can I actually, take to pursue it? One of the things that you mentioned on during your question, one of the questions that you had was, what are things that we're thinking about to do in 2021? And something that I've always shared, with our students at Blossom Academy, is that the hard skills, may get you into the door, but the soft skills will keep you in there. So now we've been thinking about how do we actually develop more online soft skills training programs to provide to these students, where do people incorporate, they can actually keep upskilling themselves, because that's how I also upskilled myself, by watching these soft skills programs, these leadership skills, business management, you name it. And that's really helped propel me, in my career journey as an entrepreneur.
Wonderful. Great. I could relate to a lot of those points as well. And you actually also touched upon mentorship. So I'm going to do a plug for the community. We have a community of a lot of experts and mentors that our young entrepreneurs can reach out to on the platform. So if you haven't joined yet, do join. I know, Jeph, you're a member as well now. So yeah. Okay. So this would lead us to the closing remarks. I would ask you if you have any parting words with our young entrepreneurs that you want to share. Some advice in a nutshell.
Yep. Look, I shared a lot during our conversation to really conclude this call. One thing that I'll say is that, so before I even share this advice, I just want to even kind of highlight this brief challenge that I have had, which is focusing on building one thing really well, right? My challenge is that I have so many interests, that I have so many things going on, and more often than not, that can be a barrier to my success and actually helping fuel more overall growth, right? And I'm learning that the hard way. And I think this year, what I have, towards the end of this year, what I've been trying to do more is saying, how can I consolidate what I'm working on and find out that, okay, this thing that I'm working on relates to that thing, and I can work on them together. And I think of it as like this spider web philosophy is what I share with my friend. Right, spider web, a spider has, these 8 legs, different webs, and saying that in the center is something you truly care about. And one thing I've always cared about is economic equality. So whatever that I'm, really focused on, or whatever that is taking my attention, does that align with economic equality? Does that relate to Blossom Academy? Right. So I would say that, it's not a bad idea to try have different ideas, different things to focus on. But in order for you not to be overwhelmed, what's your spider web, right, philosophy? What's that thing in the middle that connects, right, to everything that you truly care about at the core? It's a bit, your respective journeys, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's trying to you be a researcher, whether it's trying to be a pilot, you name it. But it's all about at the center what really kind of appeals to your core, right? I'm trying to find the right words for this, but I hope that at least makes sense to you.
It did make a lot of sense. I think it makes sense to the audience as well. Princess was commenting on connecting the dots to form the larger picture. Yeah, I really like how you speak about, you have like the overarching values, and then you should try to find synergies and not spread yourself too thin in whatever you do.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
think that's really great advice for any of our young entrepreneurs out there. Okay, unless you have any questions or other comments, we've come to the end of the session.
I'm all good here. If anyone has,
yeah. I just would like to thank you again on behalf of ITC and the community team. It's been really great to have you on again, and to have a bit more of an in-depth conversation about your entrepreneurial career.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's been great to have you.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's ever a part 2 of the conversation in the future, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to contribute, so please feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to continue these conversations for sure.
Perfect. We'll be in touch.
Thanks everyone for joining.
And this conversation will be posted online as well. So for anyone who wants to watch it back, it'll be there. I'll share it with you as well.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.